Bayelsa State, located in the southern part of Nigeria, created on the 1st of October 1996 from the old river state by the regime of former military leader General Sani Abacha. The name Bayelsa is an acronym of three former local government areas in the then river state, Brass, Yenagoa and Sagbama land areas that now constitute Bayelsa State. With a land area of 21,100 square kilometers and its capital at Yenagoa, Bayelsa shares boundaries with Delta State on the north, River State on the east, and the Atlantic Ocean on the west and south. Bayelsa State is a tropical rainforest with more than three-quarters of this area covered by water and low land stretching from Ekeremo to Nembe. The area lies almost entirely below sea level with a maze of meandering creeks and mangrove swamps. With a network of several creeks and rivers in the south all flow into the Atlantic Ocean via the major rivers. The vegetation here is characterized by the mangrove forest. Crop production in Bayelsa State is limited because of its swampy terrain and extensive areas of land are flooded for most of the year. Fishing is the major occupation of Bayelsa people because of the abundant creeks, lagoons, rivers, and swamps. Commercial fishing is also practiced with over 200 species of fish found in the waters within and around the state. In 1956, oil was first struck in commercial quantities at Oloibiri in Ogbia, local government area in Bayelsa State. With the largest crude oil reserve in the Niger Delta area of Nigeria, the state produces over 40% of the country's onshore crude oil and vast quantities of associated gas. Gas production is being intensified in the state as feedstock to the LNG gas supply plant in Bonny, which is located in Oluwasari local government area of the state. Also, the gas feed will supply the proposed National Associated Gas Gathering Networks that will feed other LNG plants, power plants, and end users in the manufacturing sector. Since the first oil pumped then in Oloibiri in 1956 by Shell, several international oil companies have extracted oil not only in Bayelsa, but from across the Niger Delta. Today, Shell, Agip, and Chevron Texaco are the major oil exploration and production companies operating in Bayelsa, making the state one of the largest crude oil and natural gas deposits in Nigeria. As a result of this, petroleum production is extensive in the state. Unfortunately, the majority of Bayelsans live in poverty. Bayelsa has a riverine and estuarine setting. Many communities are almost completely surrounded by water, making them inaccessible by road. They are mainly rural dwellers due to the terrain and lack of adequate transportation, health, and education or other infrastructure as a result of decades of neglect by the governments and petroleum prospecting companies. This has been a big problem in the state since its creation. The local populations engage in fishing on a subsistence and commercial level. They go to farm or fish. They have very impressive habits. But today the story is different due to the magnitude of the environmental abuse in the state. Daily there are deposits of oil spills in several communities, but there is little or nothing done to clean up the mess. This is the true story of Bayelsa State. In Bayelsa and elsewhere, communities have faced an environmental catastrophe. About 40 million liters of oil are spilled every year across the Niger Delta, according to several reports. Land and water have all been contaminated, with devastating effects on residents' health and livelihoods. Vast areas of the state's waterways and mangrove swamps have been destroyed or put at risk. Farmland has been cloaked in oil, contaminating crops and exposing people to high levels of health risk. Over 3/4 of 2 million estimated Bayelsans rely on fishing or farming for survival and are left with nothing. Environmental degraded, health at risk, water, air polluted, and livelihood gone. On the 5th of November 2020, The Human and Environmental Developmental Agenda, HEDA, took a tour of Bayelsa State to see the level of the environmental disaster caused by the oil spillage in the communities. The journey started with the arrival of the HEDA consultant team to Yenagoa, welcomed by the coordinator of the ground team, Honorable Mien. The project was designed to cover the following communities: Tuombras, Odioma, Okuama, Abadianga, Owama. But due to serious security threats from sea pirates and kidnappers that led to the death of some persons, the team was warned to avoid the 5 communities, especially Odioma and Brass Terminal. The journey management was also changed from Fire Service Yenagoa waterfront to Nembe City. But despite the security concerns, the team decided to embark on the project. On the 3rd day, while filming the oil-polluted areas, the consultant from HEDA was mistaken for an Agip personnel and dropped. Because of the security threat to this community's traditional rulers, community chiefs, and other locals refused to grant interviews to the project team despite the advocacy's sensitization.
Their life and they are in and out.
In Mb Kiri community, the people welcomed the HEDA team with prayers. There were telltale signs of panic among the indigents following the multiple oil spillage from a pipeline belonging to the Nigerian Agip Oil Company.
I've been dealing with most of this spillage thing. My net have been contaminated. Most of them have been thrown out.
The team gathered that the bridge pipeline had discharged crude oil into the environment, destroying flora and fauna. The fear of the outbreak of oil spill-related epidemic had gripped the people. The impact of the incident was fast-spreading, aided by flooding. The people of Mb Kiri also had their worries. In the past, they had visited spill sites and taken records, but nothing was done afterwards. The routine telling of their fears and worries was a tiring exercise.
Anytime they want to do our clothes at the end of the day, nothing is coming up, and we are fed up, and there is no one to help us out. And for today night, you can see people who can fight on our behalf. I think we will be very grateful.
They yearned for relief through environmental remediation and development, but HEDA had also heard of this trust deficit and had its fears in building a common ground as it intensified its advocacy.
We've had almost similar statement from an elderly person who spoke to us before, which brings to question, to mind, the question of trust and sincerity. Is it not?
Yes. So this NGO is poised to change that perception. That is why we are here. We verify.
The traditional head of Mb Kiri bore his mind, saying their cries only met deaf ears from government and multinationals.
Agip with us, we take a boat, Agip fly boat, to snap all the oil from here to Pikiri to Tokubu to Shogubogo and so on and so on. Nothing as it. People are suffering. Now when you went to fishing, if you want to visit on the lake, before you went to visit, before you enter, you keep fish and don't come and sell and feed your family. And now, when you fish, there's nothing to show.
But are you sure they are aware?
Agip are aware, everybody is
What
aware.
about the government?
Government are aware. Sometimes we listen and then we show to the government and then the Agip.
Hello.
And so on.
Apart from Agip, is there any other country?
Agip, we know only Agip
Agip,
now. We know only Agip now. We need Agip to employ our people. That's the major thing we are talking now.
What then is the definition of help the people need from the multinationals operating in their territory, in this case, Agip? Elder Friday G. Black is the vice chairman of Cameronama Tuombras. He says the tide is a major transporter of crude to neighboring communities whenever there was a spill. For him, the socio-economic impacts are enormous.
The business is affected to the extent if you drop nail, you cannot be able to get anything. You can't get money to train your children in school. You can't feed proper.
Beside the economic implication, what about children, hospitals? In what way has the spillage affected the health of the people?
It's affected the health to the extent if one of us, you don't say we normally take a bad wall, you can sick at any time. When you sick at any time, it is very important for you to rush to hospital at the same time. But this one cannot be able to do that.
How have the people coped with the health challenges? Denials by multinationals and the inability of government to effectively regulate and sanction them is another cog in the wheel of justice.
We took the matter to one lawyer. At the end, you know, we are doing things with the community, some partly community. They use their influence sometimes to cover up all that kind of thing. So they say we are their tenants, so you cannot be able to jump over straight. That is how, like now, if to say how I just carry the lawyer. This man know him, me I know him, this one know him. Carry issue, you say true. Sometimes when this kind of a thing happens, we used to consult the lawyer.
To help you contact the oil
they will
company.
use force from the community pressure. Sometimes pressure is voting down.
Elder Friday G. Black's report is no different from that of Mr. Andrew Isaac, the Vice Chairman de Kubuama Tuan Brass.
There are several spillage oil in Tuan Brass, but when it occurs, they may bring form for us to feel.
Who are those?
Certain bodies may come by name oil spillage. When we face form, they will struggle contributing money, fighting for us, but at the end, no. And it affected us in the way that we cannot forward our children in school fee, even to feed ourselves at home, we cannot. Even our net begin to tear, we condemn it. To get it back, problem.
What would be the solution now to this problem of oil spillage?
The only solution I know is that tell the company that owns the oil to know how to rectify the oil now, so that country cannot be continue occurring. They can assist us for loan and also help us in the part that our engine, because we use engine for the fishing. So if that can come on, that should be a greater help for us.
Chief Taiwo Adebioshu moved from a settlement in the southwest in 1984 and took up fishing. His fishing business is all he depends on for the upkeep of his family, but not without some negative experiences as a result of the oil and gas spill devastation.
Whatever this oil village falls in the river, whatever my net touch any of the oil touch any one of the net, that net is condemned. Secondly, this gas, when it bursts for the river, no fish will they get. Then what we are expecting of that one be say, all the manure thing where fish they chop for inside water, the flour where they inside this ocean. When we reach there, now there we they know whether fish is there for here or no day. So when this affection of this gas is coming out, see we kill all the gases within inside water. So we have to pack it on the net. If you go inside ocean, you go see how this flour float. So whatever affection of this one is happen, we are jobless to fishing. When we go, nothing coming out,
Like
nothing to affect.
how long have you experienced this?
I've experienced this in almost 10 years ago.
Together with his colleagues, he suffered losses for over a decade with no compensation or support with relief materials.
When it is happened, normally we gather ourselves by the company affecting to that oil village. We report it and then we go to the lawyer, put our statement to him. Then we go to that company. Like sometimes he go tell us says he don't deliver the message, there is no compensation into the company. We tell you as we dey here with the talk. Nothing.
So, sir, what do you think is the solution to this problem?
The solution, all these companies for the federal government, then we want federal government to come in now to compensate us, help us, even to feeding our child by now. No way.
This is the picture of abject poverty in an ocean of wealth. Thanks to multinationals whose only concern seems to be the sapping of oil without adequately giving back to the community. Most times when their fishing gears get contaminated by oil spill, destroyed and abandoned.
Yeah, some of the nets that is condemned by this crude oil that cannot be put to use. The other ones, we are sending them there, even that may have many. Some of them we have put them away. Even all these ones that you see for boat use, they are not working crude oil and fuel, but because of lack of money and they use thousands. Before you do one set of net, you know of that at least 1.7 million naira. Yes, one set like this that you see in that boat. And they don't have the money to buy, hence they manage them. You see, that is what we are seeing here. You can take all this and do. All this one, crude oil and fuel. Look at them, crude oil and fuel. They don't have the money to replace them.
Without funds to replace the gears, depleted fisherman is created, adding to increased poverty lines. On the 29th of October 2020, Header's team arrived the predominantly fishing community of Iwama in Brast local government area. Gladys Iwukorai, the community treasurer, was first to grant us audience. She says following crude oil pipeline eruption on their means of livelihood has been disrupted, but neither government nor Agip is responding.
When the oil blow, I been the go river myself, I see the oil, even first the oil dey thick, the mangrove forest self don't die. And when you go see say oil really spoil something there. Anybody when go not dey kill fish. No way when you go take tool, go inside, go kill fish, self not there again. Now the suffer when we dey suffer.
So because of the oil spillage now, on our fishing business no go again.
We no fit go. The net them, everything don't spoil.
Your fishing net.
All our fishing nets there.
So have you talked to the company involved?
Yes.
Which
but
are,
they're not doing anything. The Agip.
Agip company. You've told them and they are not doing anything.
Yes, they are not doing anything.
No form of compensation.
Lie.
Apart from the fish we kill and some farm, they affect health, like when I get drinking water from there.
Drinking water not there now. This well water we dey drink. So it affects all those things. It affect us. They're not agree to for us. We don't complain tire. No way. Children have not if go school, and not only this fishing we dey take help our children. Thank you. This only fishing. Now we dey take do everything. But now, as the creeks then they spoil, when then the oil they spoil the creek, fish will not they kill. So now what to take train our children. It's very difficult for us to train our children and to feed them.
An elder of Iwama, Obuene Williams, told Header's team that the erupted pipeline was laid in 1973 by Agip and had gone rusty.
The pipeline damaged by itself because they laid the pipe in 1973. It was long ago. 1973, when they laid this pipe, it's old. If you count the years now, the pipe are old. But when this happened, we have made connection to Agip, but that doesn't help. Even they come and verify everything. And that they didn't happen by itself.
But the company believes it was damaged by militants. Equipment failure is perhaps what these companies refuse to admit, perhaps to shy away from their responsibilities in such situations.
Let Agip come in and help the community by compensation. The compensation, what I'm saying, that the nets and the boats and some finance. The men of engineers, if you get to, I can bring out the engine and show you. When the tide come up, the water go in with the oil and damage all our crops. All the trees have damaged. And nothing was killed. You just lay like that. And if you see the net, we have nets all over. You go to that side, they have nets all over. We just remain in the house. And we spend time to go to river. From there, we pay our school fees to money to our children, but nothing.
Okpuama is the hometown of Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources and former Governor of Bayelsa State, Chief Timipre Silva. The Human and Environmental Development Agenda headers team were given a chiefly reception by the Chief's Council. Chairman of Okpuama Kingdom, Chief Sele Dede, told the team that an oil pipeline erupted just about 3 weeks ago in the area, and barely 2 weeks thereafter another eruption occurred on the 8th of November 2020. But the company Agip is yet to clamp the erupted spot. The impact on the environment and socio-economic life of the people is better imagined than experienced.
When the tide goes down, they go into these swamps to pick periwinkles. Very, very important for us. Oysters, and then the fishing nets. That is where they put their fishing nets and catch fish and all that. All that is gone.
Due to the spillage now.
Due to the spillage. Certainly due to the spillage. It's getting worse.
Have there been any time there's any form of compensation?
They came, they did a JIV with very secretive Agip style. They did it Agip style. They saved the people to put their signature, dropped some pitans in the name of relief material. Dropped some pitans in the name of relief materials. Asked the lawyers to write to Agip, the NOSRA, prepared for a post-JIV inspection. That they were still planning when the second one occurred. They were yet to do the post-JIV inspection of the first spillage earlier this year. The second one occurred. They quickly prepared a JIV and asked my people to sign. I was in Yenagua. I asked them, don't sign until the lawyer had come to see it. I spoke to the press. What they did was to quickly tell Milan, their headquarters, that some 2 barrels, the spillage was 2 barrels. And it had, as at the date I was writing again, it was the 22nd of last month. And this thing occurred early in the month, on the 12th. Yeah, date 8, certainly not 12. On date 8, that was when our fisher folk discovered the spillage. And as at date 12 was when they made the first attempt to clamp and discovered that they couldn't clamp it. The company they brought couldn't do anything. Had to pull back, tried a second day, still failed. And they were still struggling with it up to, well, maybe they were able to control the flow. They were able to somehow control the flow. But the burst had still been oozing out hot or liquids, things like that. And they were yet to do that. Meanwhile, they had written a report that it was only 2 barrels. How they measured the 2 barrels, they are the experts, perhaps. We are not arguing with them, but that was what they replied. So I replied back to Milan. Tell them that as I speak on the 22nd of last month, as I'm speaking, they have not been able to clamp it. Which means that you are even using a backyard contractor who didn't know enough to come to do the work, because you always cutting corners. Agip, I know you're always trying to cut corners.
More worrisome is the treatment of natives by these companies when oil spill occurs. Slow response time and oil infrastructure predates several residents in the community's Chief Sele Dede added.
What would be a lasting solution to this continuous oil spilling? Because
change the pipes. The pipe is older than a lot of the people in this kingdom. They pumped a lot of wells through that pipe here. at the Agip terminal here. A lot of millions of barrels had gone out of here. What is so difficult in saying let's now stop a little while? That little while that they want to stop and change the pipe will cause them poverty. What is it? You stop it, lay fresh pipes, and continue with your work. Even if it's 3 months of not loading oil, do that. But you see, when you say these things, who are the owners of the oil? Who are the owners of the international oil companies? Majority share is Nigeria. Federal government owns majority share of all the oil companies. So as long as that remains so, the people, the managers of the relationship, the joint venture management, will always dictate what happens. They don't care because federal government owns majority shares in their company. That's why I believe they are so careless. The international, the IOCs are so careless. Look at the Ogoni cleanup. Look at the way Shell bluffs. Up till now, nothing has been done. Who will speak? Nobody. Because when you make the noise, they will bring it down to the table for cash discussion on how to pay. You discover that whatever is to be paid, the federal government is expected to pay the majority, the part of the bigger part of the bill will have to be paid.
Chief Toyin Preyo Uruama, the chairman of Okwama Community Development Committee, could not hold back his anger. He simply wants better expression of responsibility that protects the natives and the environment from the Agip oil pipeline spill.
The line is owned by Agip, and this same pipeline, we experienced 3 spillage on that same pipeline the same year, just this year. Showing that pipeline, I'm sorry to say this, that pipeline was laid, I was trying to get the fact, but from what I got it was laid 1970. And if that pipe was laid 1970 till date, that pipe has not been serviced, that pipe has not been changed, and due to the corrosiveness of this our area, no matter how you cut that pipe, by now there should be erosion in different spots in that pipe. That's why we are having incident split, and all the results coming out from all those splits are equipment failure, showing that that particular pipe, yes, all is what we got in equipment failure, showing that particular pipe is overdue for change, and they know it. Now, as I speak, the first one that we have problem with in Bongokri, just opposite Bongokri, we call it opposite Bongokri. I called my chairman. Chairman said, Chief Obo, go. I came down to meet that pipe. If you see the extent of damage in that pipe, about 4 places, the way thing is gushing out. So they tried to clamp it. As I speak to that particular pipe, I don't know. So they are now looking for ways, because what it means that they have to cut it from somewhere else, cut it from that portion, and take away that one, and then bring a new one and see how they can weld it back to show you how bad it is. Then these people, same people, since then till now, they don't even care what has happened to the people. And do you know what is hurting me the more? I told my chairman. They went and told him, their counterpart in Milan, that what it was just 2 pallets. And that was a split that occurred, and the thing has gone to Fanto, it has gone to Nibe, it has gone to inside our fishing boats, and then visibly, me and you, we are seeing that the extent of damage is big. So now they are pumping water out of the pipe.
At Abadianga, Heather's team met with Chief Rotimi Williams Atimise, president of Rotel Fishing Union in the Okwama Kingdom, who has been into fishing business for over 40 years. He's an employer of labor, but with the endless oil spill, life has not only become difficult, his business, like others, is now into debt, because when their fishing gears get contaminated, they must source for funds to replace them.
A lot of fish die on the river and are floating due to the effect of the oil. Sometimes 3 months ago too, it happened, a lot of fish died. We don't even know where we are going to because we cannot even afford having 2 spare meals a day now. If you manage to have one, we are okay. I was not like this. You can see from my clothes, I was not like this. A lot of fishermen now owing millions. Personally, me at that time, speaking with you now, I don't even pick calls now because of the credits. I don't pick people's calls. I don't even know how many millions I'm going. 2013, I think that one is Agip. It happened in my presence on the high sea. I was an eyewitness here. Fishermen fishing, just of a sudden when we saw that the water from inside boiling out. Along their pipe there. So when we discovered it was on their pipe that burst. We're about 11 boats from Rotel Fishing Terminal that was fishing around that place that day. And all the material wasted on them. They came around, said that people should not even eat the fish, this thing. That is how they left.
What would be a solution to all these problems?
I have spoke on TVC News several times concerning this issue. That they should see to the fishermen door to door. Not staying in Abuja anywhere saying this has happened, the company this and that. Come to the fishing settlement, the satellite settlement, and see the people what they are passing through.
Sometimes unknown to these people, they consume poisoned fish and their health adversely affected. Their sources of water also polluted, he added.
I think the one of which year, if I'm not forgotten, is 2017. A lot of people that eat those fish unknowingly went to hospital. They were hospitalized. I can remember one Clement. I took that Clement to hospital here. I spent a lot of money. I can remember one other one again by name Ebenezer. I spend my own money in taking care of him. If it happens, all your material and the water is condemned, is of no use. Of no use.
Chief Festus Ike Fubara, the chairman, the Diama Council of Chiefs, is one native which has witnessed several oil spills, but each time no one takes responsibility.
We have experienced so many oil spillage here. I cannot even count. So many that we will write, people will come, will write, they go and see what was happening because presently we have no pipeline here. But when oil spillage occur within this area, because the river flow from the mainstream to our area, almost all the creeks it enters, and it affected our aquatic life. Nets destroyed, we cannot use them. So nothing is being done about this oil village that has occurred for so many years. Nothing.
So now, I want to ask you, each time this thing happens, is there anybody that comes to your aid to support you or to clean it up? Whether from the company?
Nobody, no company person has ever, since I was born, no company person. Look at Agip. It's just a stone throw. Agip did not even put us for anything. And by right, you know, the ecological effect between Okoma and Diuma is just a stone throw. You will have seen. But we have not seen anything from either Agip or any of the companies that are operating within this area.
Chief Fubara is also a fisherman.
I myself am a fisherman for my occupation. But now, because of this oil spillage that has occurred and affected the whole community, most of them cannot go to school. Since this oil spillage has affected, once the net, they cannot use them. When they go to high sea, when the oil spillage occurs, they will just bring their net, put it on their way unuseful. So it affected my community. very much. Agip that is near to us. Before this pipe were laid, it has been taking a long time. So the best thing to do, let them efficiently change those pipes at any given time.
His story is retold by the Fishermen Associate Chairman of Diama, Chief Ibiriyai. They blame the government for the attitude of multinational oil companies. According to them, oil companies intimidate them with heavily armed military personnel rather than clean up the environment and provide adequate corporate social responsibility service.
Just of recent, we jam these oil leads at the ocean. That very day when we jammed them, we see two Agip boats, two big Agip boats, the tiders. We are pouring chemical at the ocean. In the CO, we are pouring chemical. We don't know the content of the chemical, but we see that. So the second day when we don't see the oil again. Okay. We didn't see the oil. So some days the oil followed the river to the seesaw. When it happens like that, for we to go, it's a big problem. Because when you just set your net and it touches the oil, the net will not kill fish again. It damages the net totally.
When you saw them, do they always come to apologize?
No, you cannot even go near them. They are with armaments, with guns, so you cannot go closer to them.
On day 3 of the header assessment tour, the team in company of some of the natives and a joint-led vigilante set out to see an Agip spill site in Ikikubio in Okuama. The Okuama CDC chairman, Chief Uruama, led header to the spill site. He believes the pipes are due for replacement.
Where we are now is an Agip pipeline passing through my kingdom. We call this place Ekokobio. That's what we call it, Ekokobio.
Okay.
Now,
that's Ekokobio's flow station, right?
No, pipeline.
Pipeline, okay.
That is passing.
Okay.
Yes. And there was a major spill on this place. And Agip has tried what they could with all the equipment to see if they could come and cramp this place. But as you can see, you understand, they are unable to cramp it because of the extent of damage. The pipe is rusted. They came with everybody and they discovered the result was that it is equipment failure. That shows that the pipe has erupted. There is no way you can cramp it unless you take off the old pipe and replace it with new pipe. What this means is that these pipes were too old because when this pipe was laid till now, it's about more than 50 years ago. So all Agip is doing is deliberate punishment or deliberate act, to finish the life of my people. Because what is happening here, you can see from when we're coming, the old place is polluted, the mangroves are stained, the whole of this place, all the aquatic life in this place is gone. One has happened in the same line back all the way. They came and they were able to cramp that one.
Right.
Then after cramping that one, it's just about 2-3 months, this is happening again. On the same pipeline, not a different pipeline.
Okay.
This goes to show that this old pipeline, like I told you, is due for change more than 20 years ago. But Agip deliberately kept it in the sand so that they can punish the life of my people.
Okay. You said what is happening here is equipment failure?
Equipment failure. They came with government officials, Nostra, and they saw it and they confirmed that it's equipment failure.
Please, in a very clear term, tell us the oil company that is in charge of this spillage.
The oil company in charge of this oil spillage is Agip, Nigerian Agip Oil Company. They are the pool that when it happened, we went to report to them. Then they came with their staff in Nostra pool to come and confirm to see if it is sabotage or it's equipment failure. But when they came, the Nostra pool and government confirmed that it was equipment failure. Right when we come with the boat, you can see the impact of oil on the river and on the mangrove. This goes to show that my people, our occupation is fishing. We don't know other thing than fishing. So with this kind of spillage, you understand, it has damaged the aquatic life of this whole river down to the river North. Because as a drop of this oil will kill any livestock that is on this water. So what that means is my people
are now starving because we don't normally catch or harvest as we used to catch when we go for fishing. Because normally fishing is our occupation. We kill fish, we dry them, and then we exchange them for foodstuff. But with this kind of spillage now, you can imagine what is happening to us. From the beginning of this year, let me start. From the beginning of this year, we've had about 3 spillage. And you can imagine what that means to us.
And all the 3 spillages belong to Agip company.
And on the same pipeline, please take note of that. On the same pipeline,
at a different location.
But different location. Which goes to say that, like I said, this pipe was laid since 1970. So, between me and you, if you do plus or minus, you know how old this pipe is. So, we keep on having a split on different locations. And the government officials confirm that if they don't do anything to this line, that before December, we will have several splits, and that's what's happening now. That's why that one happened. And the third one that happened, now I asked them to go and trace. Now the third one that happened, unfortunately, we are trying to still trace where the leakage is coming out from. Agip came with us to this very point. In our videos, those videos I showed you, if you look at it, they came to this very point. The dog is in bed, they don't see it. But the flow of oil is still spreading. If you watch that video, you see the flow spreading. So it's based on this trunk, you understand, that the third one will come. But we and Agip, the kingdom and Agip, we are yet to trace that particular split point. That's where we are working on, and Agip too is still working on. They came and they remember they didn't see it. So we told them no problem. Our boys will still be on the line and we'll still get out the exact point. But the oil is spreading.
Okay, Kuma Eric, the public relations officer of Iwama Fishing Group, also granted Heather's team an interview at an oil spill location in Iwama territory.
This is Agip pipeline. Okay. These are products of Agip. Initially, when they come to dig this area because of this spillage, they bring all these items to just flow from to block the leakage of the oil. That's why they dug all this area. Right now, because of the spillage here and there is no fish. If we can thaw the whole day, there is no fish anymore to feed ourselves or even to train ourselves. There is no fish. So you can see that everything, even crab, process, nothing is here. All this leakage, we the community people are the ones that find out this area.
The effect of the oil industry on people's health in Bayelsa is still emerging. Life expectancy is cut short. A recent study estimated that in 2012 alone, 16,000 babies died within the first month of life because of oil pollution in the region. Separate research confirmed that pollution is placing communities at heightened risk of kidney damage as well as diseases such as cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Campaigners report increased cases of diarrhea and child malnutrition. The Commission's interim report concluded that communities suffered life-changing health consequences as a result of oil pollution. The report added that they have also found it almost impossible to secure fair redress. One thing these people are never certain of is when their loud cry for help will be heard by the authorities, including multinationals and the international community. Just maybe their voices are being deliberately suppressed, leaving them in anguish in the midst of plenty wealth. They may just continue to hope against hope until help comes their way someday. The Human and Environmental Development Agenda joins the good people of Bayelsa State to call on international oil companies, especially Nigerian Agip Oil Company, to clean up spills immediately, provide swift compensation to oil communities affected, and develop long-term solutions to avoid spills.